First of all, when the 2002 Township Board reviewed the cemetery records, they agreed that there was no plots available for sale. A policy was adopted that any sales and transfers would have to be approved by the board. Clerk Ulrich was on the board and she was a member of that committee. She was fully aware of that adopted policy. She reported to this board on many occasions and as far back as 2004 that there were no plots available in the cemetery, so a waiting list was started. If the plots became available for one reason or another, they were sold back to the township, and the people on the waiting list would then be contacted and they would have the first right of refusal. I was supposed to be on that waiting list. I think that Kathy Horning said she was on that waiting list. I know of several people in the township that were told that there were no plots available for sale, so they were put on the waiting list as well. But once that person was contacted, and they decided whether they wanted it or not, if they did, then the transfer would have to be approved by the board. This policy was put in place so that issues like this one with the Drover family could be avoided. We have a clerk that was elected by the good people of Hartland Township. She raised her hand, she swore, and she took an oath. She swore to uphold the policies of the township. She pledged to God and her constituents to obey the laws of Hartland in the state of Michigan. I believe, as others, that she ignored those policies for her own self-interest. The plots were never deemed to be available for sale by this board or any previous board. The sales that Ann did for herself was never reported to this board or approved per township policy. Her excuse was that she paid for the plot to an employee of the treasurer, and through that transaction, she informed the treasurer who should have informed the board. That excuse is far-reaching, and it's irrelevant, because it still violated the policy. Her intentions and her fingerprints are all over this issue. She claims she just made a mistake and she wasn't thinking clearly. After all, she did lose her mother. Normally, that would be understood by most rational people. Mistakes are not thought out unless they are deliberate. Ann had to figure out how to make this sale, the cemetery sale. The board was told on many occasions by our clerk that there was a waiting list. So Ann had to first make a sale to herself and then transfer that sale to her mother. Mary Ulrich was never on that waiting list. And even though in Ann's mind she justified the transaction, she still violated township policy, one that she helped to create. The sale by Ann the clerk was done for Ann herself. The deed was witnessed by herself for herself. This was not just a mistake. This was never a township error, but it was a deliberate act of self-dealing. I would like to remind the board of our mission statement: to provide quality service, to exceed expectations, to steward the resources entrusted to us, to promote and protect the environment, health, safety, and welfare of all who live, work, and visit in Hartland Township. When we adopted that statement as part of our strategic plan, we were talking about integrity. Joe Kalani touched on integrity at our last meeting. And this is what we believe the people in Hartland should be most concerned with: the integrity, the honesty of the people they elect to this board. We should be held to the highest standards. We should set the example, not just some of the time, but all of the time. The clerk in this township has violated the integrity that our citizens expect. Her honesty is non-existent, and she has lost the confidence of this board. As a fellow member, I believe that she should step down. But as witnessed at a previous meeting when the vast majority of this board asked her to resign, she declined. I'm not out to hurt Ann. I don't think anybody on this board is out to hurt Ann. But I will challenge her every time she tries to discredit this board. First, her lack of integrity and her honesty was caused by herself. She created the problem, she tried to justify it, then she tried to cover it up by spinning the truth. She is her own villain. There are two reasons why I believe that Ann would not sign the previous agreements, even though she verbally agreed and then later reneged. First, she did not want to pay the cost, because that could be used against her in the future as an admission of guilt. And that leads me to the second reason. And I don't want to get into the cost right now, because I think that possibly during the discussion over the agreement we can talk about the costs. But that leads me to the second reason that I think is even more important to Ann than that one-time expense. The board authorized a complete investigation. We spent money on an internal investigation as well as an external independent investigation. The facts were outlined in the agreements. The facts were changed and deleted by Ann. Her attorney never did an investigation. She authorized him to send out letters with false accusations and change the agreement, omitting the facts, blaming it on everybody, including the deputy treasurer, the treasurer, the township manager, the township supervisor, and she even attacked our own township attorney. This is typical of a person who is trying to camouflage the truth and twist the facts. She blamed everybody but herself. She tried to change and omit the facts, and she tried to hide the truth. It was important for Ann that these facts were omitted from the agreement, because they could be used against her at a later date if she was challenged in a future election. If the facts are not to be found in the agreement, she could claim that she was just an innocent victim of a witch hunt. And as a bonus, she later found out that the township's previous insurance company may pay the bill. If that issue ever surfaced with an opponent, she would have claimed that she was right, 6 members of this board and 2 investigating committees were wrong, and she would spin the truth once again. That is why Joe Kalani and I believe that this is the delay has been all about. It was not to get the record straight in the best interest of Hartland Township, as she claims, but it was once again all about Ann to protect her for the future. By not signing the agreements, our clerk has held this township and the Grover family hostage for over 4 months. Even though she verbally agreed to 4 previous settlements, she would not sign them until the facts were finally deleted. Joe Kalani and I will be asking the board to approve a resolution regarding censure of the township clerk that clearly outlines the facts as they are. Finally, when a government body goes to the extreme of censure one of its own, that should not be taken lightly. I do not believe that this has ever been done before in Livingston County, and I certainly don't believe it's ever been done in Hartland Township. This resolution will be placed into township permanent records forever. It is a snapshot in time that I'd like not to remember, but it is what it is. If our township clerk had just a little integrity and honesty, this all could have been avoided. Even though our township clerk is remorseless, I hope the people of Hartland, especially Mr. Ernest Grover, the Grover family, the Schultz family, the Hultberg family, and the Epley family, please accept our sincere apology. With that, I would like to make a motion to approve Resolution 100501, resolution regarding censure of the township clerk. And I would like Joe Kalani to read the resolution. Got a motion on the table.